So what's going on, guys? Cali Q here, and for some odd reason YouTube decided to delist some of my previous videos where I covered this topic. So this is a re-upload with a few twists, and I have a few things edited and added into this video. So thank you for supporting the channel and enjoy. And yes, you saw the title correctly. Today I will be going over JRPGs that I believe deserve a 10 out of 10. Starting off our list in no particular order, I would like to shout out Nier Automata. This game is more of a recent modern game, and this character 2B has absolutely made a huge impact on the JRPG community. Fan service. If you have not played this game yet, you are definitely doing yourself a disservice. This game from the outside looking in may just be an internet character craze, but there is so much substance and beauty and mesmerizing allure to Nier Automata. This game's gameplay is absolutely phenomenal. It's one of the best action JRPG gameplays I have ever played. And yes, I've played Bayonetta, I've played Devil May Cry, but when I played this game's action, it just did something different to me. From 2B's fluid animations to the satisfying feeling of when you pull off a correctly timed dodge, everything in this game just works. And don't even get me started on the aesthetic and the desolate nature of the world. Sometimes I found myself just taking in the beauty of Nier's background and the vibe and just everything that this world has been through. You could tell through the way that the game was designed and the way that its environments were developed. This is a true modern masterpiece in the JRPG spectrum. It's beautifully haunting, I always like to call this game, because when I first played it, it was like I was in a trance. I was just experiencing something different, and it was absolutely amazing, but it was also uneasy. The captivating story that you're fighting for mankind when there's barely any mankind to be found is always one of those aspects to this story that I love and enjoy so very much. So this game's story is just one of the top tier stories that I've ever played. So if you enjoy stories, definitely give this one a shot. And if you have not played it yet, you might want to jump on the bandwagon. There's good reason why 2B is always in everyone else's games. She's made an appearance in Soul Calibur. She's now made an appearance in Granblue vs. Rising. And it's just announced that Nier Automata has just surpassed 8 million copies, and for good reason. From the mysteriously haunting amusement park, from the Forest Kingdom, to the amazing mini-game inspired shooter aspects, this game is phenomenal, and you need to absolutely give it a try. Don't let the hype fool you. Go in and dig in for yourself. This game is one of the greatest modern JRPGs of all time, and I will even go as to say it should find itself eventually on the greatest JRPG list of all time, because it has made that much impact in the community, and it is personally one of my favorite JRPGs. So I highly recommend Nier Automata. This game absolutely deserves its 10 out of 10. This next entry really needs no introduction from me, as you guys know how much I love the Suikoden series and Suikoden 2. This is quite simply one of the best JRPGs of all time. This game has an amazing written story. It has amazing characters. In fact, it features over 100 playable and recruitable characters as well. You build a home base, an HQ, and you go on this adventure with these kids that eventually become warriors in their own right. The hominess and coziness of this game is second to none, and the story just kept me captivated the entire way through. It is one of the best written stories I have ever seen in any medium, period. There is just something about Suikoden 2 that captured the hearts of its players, and even until this day, people cannot forget about this game. This game is sort of the unsung hero of the JRPG community, because I believe it is top 5 bar none. So this game does everything right. It does so many things so well. It has some of the best written villains I've ever seen. And its story about warring nations more so than just saving the world is one that I always love the aspect of, because most JRPGs fall into that trope of having to save the world. But in Suikoden 2, it's about these kids, their personal journey in these warring nations, and they're caught up in these warring nations, and they have to rise to the challenge and rise to the occasion to be greater than who they were at the start of the game. And that's what makes this game so absolutely special. I believe truly that it is the unsung hero of the PlayStation 1 era, and I will stand by that forever. Suikoden 2 is quite simply a masterpiece in every form of the word, in every shape and form. Moving on to the next game that I believe is a 10 out of 10, Dark Cloud 2 for the PlayStation 2 system, created by Level 5. This game is a true gem and masterpiece of the PlayStation 2 era. This reminds me of an era that wasn't afraid to be innovative, that wasn't afraid to be different. Its steampunk medieval nature is still one of the best aesthetics I've seen in a JRPG, and there's just something nostalgic and genuine about the Dark Cloud series. But number 2 pretty much did everything that number 1 did, but it did it better, with these amazing cel shaded graphics, which I still think holds up pretty well in today's age, to an amazing system of having dual protagonists and just great environments and great storytelling. The gameplay is still one of my favorites in the JRPG, as I really love that real-time but upgrading your weapons sort of thing, and the different varieties of weapons that you could equip between the two characters was always something that I truly appreciated. The game also has a whimsical nature. Honestly, it reminds me somewhat of a Studio Ghibli project, where everything is just so magical, whimsical, and different. You can tell imagination was on the full forefront of the developers' minds when they were creating Dark Cloud 2. Let alone, let's get into some of the different innovative factors that this game had, like controlling mechs, using different machinery, and just adding it all to the gameplay style just still has it as one of the most unique JRPGs to this day. Again, I don't see JRPGs stepping out of their comfort zone the way that I see Dark Cloud 2 stepping out of its comfort zone. And to me, games like these are the pioneers of the action JRPG style that is so prevalent in today's market and in today's world. So for me, Dark Cloud 2 absolutely deserves its 10 out of 10. This JRPG challenges itself in multitude of ways, and it mostly succeeds in almost all of them. I would love to see this series come back, and I can only imagine with today's technology and today's knowledge of how amazing and innovative the Dark Cloud series could actually be. This game is a timeless classic, and I believe it is one of the best PlayStation 2 JRPGs of all time, and you should definitely consider giving it a shot. But Dark Cloud 2 is absolutely deserving of a 10 out of 10. And with our next entry, Grandia II, I don't even know where to begin. This game to me is top quality, top tier, and everything it does is a 10 out of 10. Starting with this battle system that I believe is the greatest turn-based battle system in all of JRPG history. Prove me wrong, I will be waiting. I absolutely love every single character in this game, as I believe you got to see amazing character development. You got to learn so much more about these characters, their dialogue, their uniqueness in their relationships, and you just watch everything grow. It is one of the pioneering JRPGs for the Sega Dreamcast, and when it came out, it absolutely made huge waves even on the platform at that time. But this game is a timeless classic. It is still amazing to play. It is still one of the greatest JRPG stories I've ever played, and to me, that battle system, I cannot get over how amazingly done the Grandia turn-based battle system is. As I said before, it is the absolute best of the best. The character Ryudo is one of my favorite protagonists in any JRPG, as I love his carefree nature. I love seeing his character development, and where he goes from the beginning of the game to the end of the game is one of the most fulfilling journeys I have ever played in a JRPG. I really appreciate that this game makes your time worth it, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. The game is honestly only about 20 to 25 hours long, maybe, but it's a nice, tight, short and sweet, linear adventure that keeps you focused on the task at hand, and it never overstays its welcome. Grandia 2 is JRPG perfection. I said it and I stand by it, and I will always stand by it. This is one of the greatest JRPGs, bar none, of all time. Story, 10 out of 10. Gameplay, 10 out of 10. Characters, 10 out of 10. Presentation and UI, 10 out of 10. Grandia 2 innovated JRPGs, and I see so many modern JRPGs still inspired by this game's battle system. There's so much more I can say about Grandia 2, but I've already said a lot about this game in the multitude of videos that I have, so I'll let you guys go check that out about how I feel about this game. But this game is 100% a 10 out of 10 just for millennia alone. But I consider Grandia 2 to absolutely be a 10 out of 10. The Sega Dreamcast version, not the PlayStation 2 version, alright? Next, I'm going to go Star Ocean: The Second Story R. This is a more recently released title that takes a already classic Star Ocean 2: The Second Story and turns it into an absolute masterpiece. Star Ocean 2 was already a great game, but The Second Story R is probably the best remake I've ever seen done for a JRPG in my opinion. Amazing visuals, stays true to its original 2D nature while also adding so many quality of life gameplay features and updates. I absolutely believe that this game deserved all the amazing ratings that it got, and it put the Star Ocean series back in good graces in our current times, as the games have been kind of having a little hard time finding their footing and finding their ground. But the Second Story R puts us right back on a great track when it comes to what a Star Ocean game should be and what a Star Ocean game should look like. The game does amazing things like the character interactions. The story is probably a little bit on the weaker side, but the character interaction and their relationships and the private actions more than make up for what the story may lack. I still have not seen character interactions in a JRPG that is on the level of Star Ocean 2. Every character gets to know each other on such an intimate and personal level, to the point where honestly it could affect the ending of the game that you receive depending on the relationship that you've built with the character. And the action JRPG battle system is one of the best that I've played in recent memory, as once again, the original games was already amazing, but what Jim Drops was able to do with this remake was absolutely phenomenal. It felt modern, but classic. It felt innovative and refreshing. This game is absolutely one of the games that I recommend, as it was also my JRPG of the year of 2023. I believe this game deserves a 10 out of 10, and it was nice to see the critics and the media finally give a Star Ocean game the due credit that it deserves. It's just always needed a little bit of TLC and a real effort to make it a top tier franchise. So I will absolutely give Star Ocean: The Second Story R a 10 out of 10, especially considering how hard it is to do a proper remake these days. This game is definitely worth your time if you have not had a chance to check it out. And it's probably the best offering of a Star Ocean game that you can experience today. Staying in the spirit of the Star Ocean series is its cousin, the Tales of series. To me, Tales of Vesperia is the best offering of the Tales of series to date. Yuri Lowell, the protagonist, is probably one of the coolest and most awesome protagonists I've seen in any JRPG ever, and the game's beautiful cel-shaded graphics still are amongst the best in this series to date. A lot of people love the plethora of different content that this game has, and it's extremely filled with quality content for you to play and enjoy. The amazing action JRPG battle system is one of the best in the series and allowed for some really cool combos and some really innovative gameplay. I really also enjoyed the story. While it may not be the strongest story you've ever played, it's still a serviceable story that keeps you engaged with the characters along the journey. I still think this game is one of the most beautiful looking JRPGs I've ever played, and I really wish the Tales of series could have stayed in this style in my personal opinion. But once again, Tales of Vesperia, I've spent so many countless hours on this game just due to the sheer amount of content that is present in this game. This is a JRPG that definitely respects your time, and you will definitely get your money's worth from this game, especially the definitive edition. So if you ever have some free money or some free time, consider checking out Tales of Vesperia, as I believe this game in particular really put the Tales of franchise on notice in the West. Yes, there are people who may say Symphonia or Arise, but for me, Tales of Vesperia was the game that got me into the series, and it's the Tales of game that I still compare all Tales of games to. It is my definitive standard for the Tales of franchise. So with all that being said, I absolutely would give Tales of Vesperia a 10 out of 10. Is it a perfect game? No. But I do think it's a game that pioneered the Tales of series and made a big impact on the community when it comes to the Tales of franchise. Next is my most beautiful misunderstood masterpiece of all time, my beloved Chrono Cross. This game for me exemplifies what quality means in a JRPG. The amazingly deep story with profound concepts and ideas, the way that the story was executed, the characters, the gravity of the game that you were playing when it came to Chrono Cross. I just am at a loss of words when it comes to describing the impact and the amazingness that Chrono Cross is for me. Everyone always talks about Trigger, and Trigger is definitely a pioneer for what it's done. But for me, Chrono Cross was the game that made me rethink what it meant to play a JRPG. It was the game that truly made me consider JRPGs to be a true force of nature to be reckoned with that could actually change your life in certain ways. I really enjoyed the game's turn-based battle system, and I love the characters. Despite a lot of people saying they don't really like the multitude of characters that you could recruit, I love the variety of characters as they all had their own backstories and their all unique quirks, and you could eventually customize your playthrough with the characters that you wanted. The music in Chrono Cross, we don't even need to speak of the legendary impact that the music has in Chrono Cross. This game probably has the greatest JRPG soundtrack of all time. And until this day, I've never seen a more beautiful combination of a soundtrack, music, and atmosphere and a game story all in synergy and all in sync the way that Chrono Cross was able to do this. The main character Surge has such a profound story that has still left an impact on me that I often quite think about, and it's just that aspect of Chrono Cross that makes it truly great to me. Whether it's the sequel to Trigger or not, this is a 10 out of 10 JRPG experience that you all should definitely try at some point or another. But to me, Chrono Cross is a timeless classic. It just does so many things well, and honestly, it makes me very nostalgic for this age of JRPGs because it just represents something truly special, and that special is just a timeless quality that can never be reproduced. Chrono Cross fans, stand up. Y'all already know I got y'all back. It's Chrono Cross all day over here. Next, I'm gonna go with Ys 8 Lacrimosa of Dana. This game right here impressed me on so many different fronts, and one word sums up this game to me: fluid. Fluid, smooth, the combat is silky smooth, and the exploration is certainly rewarding. Everything about this game absolutely impressed me and shocked me, and shout out to my brother for getting me into this series. And I watched him play this game initially, and I could not help but notice how fluid and smooth this game ran on everything it was trying to accomplish. Wanted a nice story? It does that. Wanted epic exploration? It does that. Wanted nice smooth combat? It does that as well. This game impressed me because honestly, this series has never been on my radar, and I believe the company name Falcom has never really been on my radar too. I've never really given their games a chance, but when I saw him playing this game and I actually went and got my hands on it for myself, this is one of my most favorite pleasant surprises I've ever ran into. Next is Skies of Arcadia. This game was originally out for the Sega Dreamcast, and it's one of those, alongside Grandia II, pioneering JRPGs of that era. I love the era of JRPGs where they just weren't afraid to do something different and weren't afraid to step outside of their comfort zone when it came to the traditional mechanics of a JRPG. Skies of Arcadia is no stranger to stepping out of its comfort zone, and to me, it did everything extremely well, and I still have not quite had such a fun adventure than when I had with this game here. I really truly enjoy the customization and the exploration in this title, as I believe it helped synergize everything that the game wanted to do, and it does it so well. We can only hope that one day we eventually will get either a remake or a remaster of this amazing title. As I said once before, it is so unique in its approach to the JRPG concept. It almost feels at certain times this game was defining the genre with its different and new and unique approach. And rounding out my list of JRPGs I believe are a 10 out of 10 is Suikoden 3. Suikoden 3 is so underrated even by its own community. I think it's absolutely criminal. This is one of the greatest PS2 JRPGs to ever grace the platform. The game features a triple protagonist system that all have intertwining stories, and I think it is one of the most well done mechanics I've seen in a JRPG ever. I know I've said that a lot, but I truly mean that when it comes to the Suikoden 3 game. The way that you have these characters' different perspective and they all meet up with opposing views and they go to fight for the greater good, putting their differences aside, and it's almost as if you were playing 3 different games at certain point because each protagonist's story is done so very well. It was almost like the Avengers coming together when you finally got to a place where all these characters would meet each other. I love the game's battle system. Even if it took some getting used to in the beginning, it eventually irons itself out and you end up feeling very fulfilled with the battle system and the certain characters. And don't even get me started on the characters and their development amongst and along this story. The character development is among some of the best I've seen in a JRPG. On top of this, you have those amazing war battles and tactical strategy battles that the game features. And it's just, man, this game, its entire aesthetic, its entire motif, it's just something that resonates with me. It resonates with me so deeply, even more so than Suikoden 2. 3 will always have a soft spot in my heart, and I truly believe that it is an innovator of the JRPG genre. It is clearly a 10 out of 10 to me. Even if it's slow in certain paces, this game is a true written masterpiece. And if you haven't played Suikoden 3, you might want to do yourself a favor, strap in, because this one is going to be one heck of a ride. But I absolutely believe that Suikoden 3 is a 10 out of 10. So thank you guys for watching this video. Shout out to all of the trailer footage and those who provided that footage for us. Guys, that is my 10 out of 10 JRPGs that I believe deserve that ranking and that number. Hit the subscribe button if you like content like this. I have plenty more JRPG countdowns coming very soon for you guys. Thank you for bearing with me as I had to re-upload this video. It really means a ton to me to have your continued support. Check out the other JRPG content and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.